Well, as you've heard, a vote on any of the resolutions has yet to take place, which may come as no surprise to many who have been paying close attention to this special assembly in the months leading up to it. You can bet our Truth and Politics panel has been paying close attention. They're joining us live now. Jennifer Lewitz is a partner with Pasqua Harbor Strategies, and she is there on the floor at the AFN Special Assembly. And Nigan Sinclair is a columnist for the Winnipeg Free Press and is joining us here in Winnipeg. Nigan, Jennifer, I think we're just getting you mic'd up there now, so maybe we can start with Nigan. And Nigan, this seems like a pretty divided assembly. What's your take on what we've been seeing and hearing so far?
Well, I was in Calgary yesterday, witnessing the kind of acrimony and deep conflict over this issue. On one level, you appreciate the passion. You appreciate the ways in which people deeply care about this issue, deeply care about getting it right. Also deeply care about the fact that the AFN is in fact running out of time when it comes to dealing with this government. Justin Trudeau's government is, by all accounts, heading towards the end of its time, and it may be that either another Liberal leader or a Conservative leader might not live up to the fulfillment of this agreement. But at the same time, if Cindy Blackstock has deep concerns, if the person who initiated this whole process says that there's gaps, that there's too much money that the AFN will be taking, it certainly is reason to pause. And I think that there is enough acrimony to suggest that this just simply can't be decided upon in this very short meeting in Calgary.
Jennifer, you're there right now on the floor as this is still being debated. What are your takeaways so far?
Exactly what Nigan said. There's a lot of divide in this room right now. You know, I've been speaking with leadership across the country for the last 2 days. The number one question I've been asking is, what are you feeling with all of this? And I just talked to Chief Roger Redmond from Standing Buffalo Dakota Nation. They're the nation that just received the federal apology. And, you know, he outlined some pretty steep concerns. You know, the lack of consultation, you know, more inclusivity when it comes to the negotiations. And we're like, these are leaders that are, you know, pro-sovereignty, are very big advocates for the people on their nation. And it's very, very concerning when these are the first leadership to speak up and say, you know what, this doesn't feel right. And the fact that it's as rushed as it is also doesn't feel good. And we've seen the narrative almost shift in the last 24 hours to now be more, well, you need to pass this through because the government's about to change. Since when do we make decisions on what is best for the government? And why is our AFN national body essentially not able to work with all governments in power?
Gonna come back to that point, Jen. Nigan, though, what's your sense of what's going to happen here? We're finally getting to the resolutions here, delayed, that's fine. But do you think anything's going to pass here?
Well, it's been all hands on deck. Certainly, we've seen the national chief, anyone who's been watching, and I've been watching the coverage all day, this was expected by many circles within the AFN, I think, to go a lot easier and certainly a lot more earlier than the time in which we're looking at possibly a vote. If there is a vote, and I think there is a question if there's if rather than when, it might just be that this resolution really has to face much more scrutiny, much more issues or comments on amendments. I mean, when I say all hands on deck, they even pulled Phil Fontaine, who talked about the long experience that he had with negotiating the settlement agreement, which was also with a dying government as well. The reality is that this shouldn't be a pressure issue. This shouldn't be an issue in which the federal government is dictating to get this done simply because they're losing support. This should be about First Nations making the determinations. And this isn't just an issue of making a decision on this particular agreement. This is actually sort of a discussion on the relevancy of the AFN as a body in which to represent First Nations communities, which are going to, in the end, impact citizens. The AFN is not a government. And so what it is a representative body of chiefs. Maybe it should just be that the communities themselves should be negotiating this. And that's what I think really is at the center of this issue.
Jennifer, you touched on it earlier, and we've been hearing a lot about it the last 2 days. The talk about needing to pass this deal before the Liberal government falls, which seems inevitable at this point. Is there a need to be concerned about this deal should the government fall and the Conservatives take power? Oh, sorry, Jennifer, can't hear us. Nigan, I'll throw it back to you then. Should there be concern, as we've been hearing, that this deal may not be there if the Liberals fall and the Conservatives take power?
Well, this is certainly the argument that's being put forward, not just by National Chief Woodhouse, but by even Phil Fontaine, former National Chief, three-term National Chief. That's the argument that's being put out, and also by regional chiefs like from Saskatchewan, for example, where the real question is should you be following the terms of the very body that you have been combating in court at the Human Rights Tribunal for such a long period of time? Should you allow the body that you are negotiating with to dictate the terms in which you are accepting this agreement? I think there is a simple solution. Push this forward into more discussions going into the winter time. And there is another AFN meeting coming up, and it's not that far away. It's certainly before there's a potential election. Of course, anytime the Canadian federal government could fall now that the supply and confidence agreement is over. But the reality is that I think that you just have to look at this agreement much deeper, and certainly if Cindy Blackstock and the Caring Society, the body that started this, is going to continue to rally support against it, you're going to see that increase.
Jennifer, just quickly back to you. What happens if there is no decision here in Calgary on this deal?
You know what? There's been a lot of conversation around what is going to happen next, and the last 24 hours, it feels like we've really been focused on this vote. Okay, this vote is going to take place, but what happens from there? There's a lot of concerns around this settlement. There's a lot of concerns around the negotiation and the lack of proper relationship, essentially between the nations across Canada and the AFN. And I just heard moments ago that there's people that are becoming proxies for nations because some of the nations aren't here to vote on it, who really at the end of the day shouldn't even be in this space and a part of this ecosystem, because these are people that have made entire business models off of child welfare services to essentially fund their businesses, and these are the people voting on incredibly important decisions. There's a lot of concerning narratives around this room right now, and at the end of the day, it's not about us, it's not about the Chiefs, it's not about anything other than the kids, and those kids that are in care or have been in care should be at the forefront of all of these decisions.
Jennifer Nigan, we'll have to leave it there. We'll all be watching. Thanks for being with us.
Got me, Rich. Thanks so much.
Thanks.